Hello again. If you hadn't met me in the last session, I'm Lisa, a nurse specialist and founder of the iCrowd. I'm also a trainee performance coach and passionate to help people create a better life and in turn create better performance. This session is going to be a coaching session to help you create the ideal mindset for innovation. You can do this as a group or on your own, it's your choice. At times, I will be asking you to pause the video for a few moments to participate in some reflective practice. Today, we're going to look at how to unleash your creative talent, build your creative confidence, and develop strategies to help you move towards action. You can use this session as part of your CPD revalidation and link this to the appropriate NMC code. Firstly, I want to just take a few moments to check in before we start the session today. On a piece of paper, write down 3 of the words or add your own words as to how you're feeling right now. Don't try to overthink this, and no one needs to see this other than you. In today's busy life, we often don't take this time to stop, breathe, and reflect, and just to have a moment to pause. I want you to pause the video now and take this time for you. If you're feeling anxious or worried, just take a few moments, stop the video, and focus on some breathing exercises before returning. There's a link below the video if you'd like some further instruction on breathing. If you're feeling tired and exhausted, it might be best to come back to this session once you've been able to take a rest. We're going to do the same exercise at the end of the session, and I just want you to observe to see if there's any differences at the end of the session. Great, we're all set to go. I just want you to take a moment and think how you might react to an opportunity to build your creative or innovation skills. Would you take this opportunity or not? There are no right or wrong answers, but just take a few moments to write down the rationale for your answer. In the next slide, we're going to look what your answers may reveal. So just pause the video until you are ready. Okay, you should have now got a few thoughts as to how open you are to learning new skills, all your thoughts around creativity. Some of you would have found this task easier than others, but it can help us to reveal our beliefs about our capabilities, our motivations, and what sort of mindset we have. If you haven't done this exercise, just pause the video now. If you're anything like me, I have a specific belief around creativity. That is, I'm not a creative person. I judge this on my ability or my lack of ability to draw or be artistic. My earlier experiences of getting low marks in art told me I wasn't good at this. And I also had the belief that drawing wasn't something I was either good at or not. And as such, there was no point in trying to get better. This is something I hear so often from many people. My thoughts indicate that I have what Carol Dweck calls a fixed mindset in relation to creativity. I've held this belief for many years because of my early experiences. A fixed mindset is highly resistant to change, and it's a self-perpetuating problem that holds people back. It stops individuals developing the skills, knowledge, and ability to achieve their potential. You too may have an area where you have a fixed mindset, and these questions can help you to identify them. Do you have a view of intelligence, creativity, or any skill that you don't feel that you're able to change? Do you feel that there are some tasks that only you can do and no one else can match your skill? Do you avoid tasks for fear of being criticized? Do you focus on the outcome and not the process? Is your behavior affected by bad performance? Do you internalize mistakes or blame others for your mistakes? Do you feel that talent is more important than effort? And finally, if something goes well, do you believe that that was down to luck? If you answer yes to any of these statements, then it might be an indication that you have a fixed mindset, like I did in relation to my ability to draw and be creative. Having a fixed mindset might hamper your efforts to be creative or innovative. It may stop you learning new skills or seeking out new experiences because you fear criticism or failure. It can really hold you back and stop you achieving your dreams. With some support, I was able to challenge my beliefs around drawing, to see that it was something people got better at with practice. I realized that my beliefs were formed from an earlier negative experience, and because I was criticized, it stopped me wanting to practice. I am sure that this has probably happened to so many of you. When I challenged my beliefs, there were many areas where my creativity shone, but I didn't see these as creative tasks. Since I've changed my beliefs around the definition of creative, I recognize that I'm much more creative than I thought. I love to write and read, and now I think about it, I was pretty good at colouring outside the lines. I was pretty good at challenging status quo and seeing connections. Gradually, I was able to change my beliefs, and I now realise that with practice, I can improve my drawing. I believe that I can learn from criticism, and I know that there are so many ways to be creative. Just pause the video now and reflect if you're stuck in a fixed mindset. What can you do to challenge your beliefs? And remember, we will all have a fixed mindset in relation to something. I hope you got on okay with that. If you need some support, don't be afraid to reach out to a trusted friend to get their perspective. But by challenging our beliefs, we can open ourselves up to develop a growth mindset so that you can challenge your fears and not let them stop you achieve your goals. You may remember that innovation requires an iterative process and failure is part of the course. If you're stuck in a fixed mindset, it can hamper your progress and stop you learning from your failures. This is why it's important to review what is holding us back and what are the beliefs that are holding us captive. Remember, this happens to us all. The trick is to notice it early so we can start that process of change. As Carol Dweck describes, we like to think of our champions and idols as superheroes that were born different from us. We don't like to think of them as relatively ordinary people who make themselves extraordinary. But when we do, we see that ordinary people can be extraordinary. It means that it's open to all of us, and that means you. You can be extraordinary. Creativity is so very important for innovation. It fuels it. A study conducted in 1968 by George Land and Beth Jarman tested 1,600 children ranging from the ages of 5 to 15 to test their creative thinking aptitude. These tests were originally developed to test NASA engineering scientists. And the findings are staggering. It showed that 98% of 5-year-olds scored at a genius level. It reduced to 30% at 10 years old and 12% to children who were 15 years of age. Adults fared worse, with only 2% scoring at genius level. It's therefore postulated that creativity is a skill that we all have as a child, but we lose as we become adults. And the thoughts behind that is that as children, we don't have lots of experiences to draw on, and so we become more adept at divergent thinking processes, which helps us to explore possible solutions. But as our experience grows as adults, we start to think more convergently, and we therefore often seek to be right rather than to discover. Luckily, like a muscle, we can build this back up, and the following exercises helps us to build our creative confidence. Take a moment, pause the video, and work through the exercise. If you're struggling with creative ideas, then just look to the next slide and it should help you with some examples. Here are some examples if you need some help in thinking what are creative tasks. Ian Small, who is an innovation champion at AECOM, also described 7 C's of innovation to help build creative thinking, and these include consistency and practice. Constraints can be great drivers of innovation, so use them. A continuous improvement can help to build and develop a culture of improvement. Collaboration, work outside your organisation and share ideas. Challenge, don't settle for the status quo. And don't forget to celebrate both the successes and failures. Remember, we learn from both. As well as creativity, we also need to develop critical thinking skills. In the diagram here, there are just some simple techniques that are listed that you can be built into your day to enable you to train your skills. Just choose a few, experiment, and just see what you learn. A good reminder is that small steps are all that is required. That is, after all, what courage is. By starting small, we can enhance our self-efficacy, which is the belief in our own capabilities. Finally, moving on to the knowing, doing gap. As human beings, we often fall into this trap. We know what we should be doing, but we're just not doing it. There are multiple barriers that might be stopping you take action. So far, we've worked through challenging and changing your mindset, creating creative confidence, building competence and self-efficacy, and now finally we're focusing on taking action. There are some listed suggestions to help you take action, but if you're still struggling, you can try if-then plans, which were introduced by Peter Goldswitzer, a psychologist, and helps address the intention-behaviour gap. The if-then plans leverage location and time. Firstly, decide what behaviours will help you achieve your goal. Then decide when and where this behaviour will take place. Now commit to this. Write it down, set a reminder. It's as simple as that. We've now come to the end of our coaching session, and thank you for taking the time. Just take a few moments now to reflect how you're feeling after this session and compare this to how you felt at the start. Again, there are no right or wrong answers. Just take a moment to notice, and if there's any change, consider why. If you'd like to use this towards your CPD revalidation, you can take some time to reflect on the following questions and relate this back to your NMC code. Thanks again for taking the time, and please do provide feedback as to if this was helpful or if there's any other information that you would find helpful. Thank you.